Chapter 301 to 303. Feeling a bit disoriented, Hinata found herself staring at Naruto on the verge of death, riddled with kunai and shurikens. It shocked her, but she quickly recognized she was in genjutsu, and promptly fluctuated her chakra, breaking out of it. Her senses returned to normal, making her head snap in the direction of the Kakashi who cast the genjutsu, only to witness a few wisps of white smoke, signifying it was a clone that dispelled. The immediate threat gone, Hinata's eyes quickly flickered to Sasuke, who stood rooted in his spot with wide eyes before she looked at Naruto, who lied on the ground, shivering. Hinata disregarded the Uchiha and jumped directly towards Naruto, knowing the knucklehead will have a lot harder time combating illusions than someone with activated chakra. Kneeling next to Naruto, Hinata put her hand on his chest and pulsed her chakra into his system, only briefly noting that Sasuke finally snapped out of the genjutsu. Unlike Hinata's expectations, Naruto didn't immediately wake up. Instead, tears started to stream down his cheeks, making Hinata worry. Narushi leaned forward in worry when Ramen, Naruto's upper body abruptly sprang up with a scream, causing Hinata to widen her eyes before their foreheads collided with a loud and painful thud, making their heads jerk backward. Ow! Naruto's upper body impacted the ground headfirst before his hand snapped towards the back of his head. That hurt more than his forehead. Hinata, who fell on her bum, also started to rub her forehead with her hands, holding back tears while slightly blushing from the proximity of their faces at the time of the collision. Both of them completely ignored the deadpan look a certain Uchiha was shooting them from the side. "I am in the team with idiots. Single quotes, he resignedly thought with a tired sigh. Not far away, Kakashi, who was about to start running in the direction of the three genins, suddenly shook his head as a sudden pain invaded it alongside the memories of his last clone, who was forcibly dispelled by exhausting almost all of its available chakra. This kind of dispel was even worse than a clone being killed as far as the user was concerned. In a fight, this would have been fatal since for a second it gave the user a sense of vertigo not dissimilar from what real chakra exhaustion feels like, causing him a headache and an impression of physical weakness that almost drove Kakashi to his knees. The unpleasant feeling was gone almost as far as it appeared, but that second would have been fatal in a fight. This was yet another reason why shadow clones were not used by high-ranked ninjas in fights. Naruto. Kakashi frowned. Who would have thought the kid has anti-genjutsu countermeasures set up? Kakashi's clone knew that genjutsu was a bad idea against a team with Hyuga and Uchiha. He didn't think it would be effective much. He just wanted to see how long it would take them to break out of it for the sake of evaluation. Sasuke had his Sharingan, which meant sticking a genjutsu on the kid was hard as heck. Fortunately for Kakashi, he knew a lot about Sharingan and knew how to bypass some of its natural abilities. Getting past Sasuke's Thritomo Sharingan was a slightly troublesome piece of cake for Kakashi, even though he doubted that genjutsu would last for more than 5 seconds. After all, a fully matured Sharingan was called a cheat for a reason. Hinata was a Hyuga. This was even more bothersome than Sharingan as far as genjutsu was concerned. Many genjutsu specialists think that the key to defeating a Hyuga with genjutsu is using non-visual one. Well, many of those found out the hard way why that was not a good idea. Hyugas simply could see their own chakra network, and that meant they instantly discovered if something was amiss with it. Kakashi was an ANBU, and thanks to his bountiful experience he knew a way to trick these white eyes too. Granted, only 1 out of 10 Hyugas would be unobservant enough to miss it, but Kakashi decided to test Hinata anyway. As for Naruto, a sudden desperate scream of ramen spread through the forest, scaring many birds in the vicinity and causing Kakashi to grin. Since Uchiha and Hyuga were walking cheats against genjutsu, Kakashi decided Naruto would have to be evaluated more harshly. As such, the genjutsu he put Naruto under was a bit special. A less-known fact about Sharingan was that it could alter the perception of time to an extent in its genjutsu. In the few seconds Naruto was caught in the genjutsu, he was made to relive an entire day of being bound to a chair and unable to move, while all around him were thousands of fragrant, delicious-looking ramen bowls, daringly tempting the young Uzumaki with their delicious aroma, making him drool. And amidst these bowls, right opposite Naruto, a different Naruto stood, gulping down a bowl after bowl with gusto before the ramen replenished itself while he viciously mocked and taunted the real Naruto. Ah, nothing triumphs a good mental torture training. Kakashi nodded in self-satisfaction. The Sharingan's ability to change the perception of time was very limited. It only allowed Kakashi's clone to at most stretch a few seconds to 1 day, and even that consumed half of its available chakra. Even the original Kakashi would not be able to do better than that, no matter if he was willing to expend more chakra on it. This ability of Sharingan wasn't known simply because no Uchiha in his right mind would use it in the middle of a fight. The chakra consumption was far too much, and extending the target's perception of time just gave him more time to actually realize he is in genjutsu and counter it. That said, this was Naruto surrounded by ramen, so Kakashi wouldn't be surprised if the kid totally disregarded the possibility of genjutsu and actually thought he died and went to heaven. Kakashi went through the memories he inherited from his clone, and unexpectedly, the second the clone caught Naruto in the genjutsu, something triggered, making the clone unable to disconnect his chakra from Naruto's, and he was instantly sucked dry of its chakra, causing him to dispel before he could gather the necessary anti-genjutsu evaluation of the team. So that was the reason I was hit by the feeling of chakra exhaustion. Kakashi briefly shuddered, glad he didn't try to use genjutsu on Naruto himself while wondering what the heck was the jutsu safeguarding him. It clearly allowed Naruto to be put under genjutsu while attacking the caster. Maybe it's a seal, Kakashi pondered. It wouldn't be batch Naruto was an Uzumaki and both of his parents were seal masters, yet Kakashi doubted it as a seal made by Naruto. It was a too brutal counter for the knuckle-headed Sunshine to come up with it himself. Kakashi's mood soured as a frown showed on his hidden lips. Why do I have the bad feeling it is some kind of extremely dangerous forbidden jutsu? And why only Anko comes to mind as the person who would teach an academy student such a thing? Kakashi wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer to these questions. The three genins tried to hide again, but once Kakashi employed some unconventional methods he learned during his stay in A and BU, even the ingenious cloaking seals Naruto made couldn't prevent him from finding them. Alas, Naruto simply didn't have enough experience to configure the seal against every possible way of tracking somebody. That's how the unfortunate Naruto, and yes, Kakashi targeted him first on purpose despite Uchiha or Hyuga being better targets, suddenly found himself being pulled down into the ground, causing Hinata's eyes to widen as she inwardly scolded herself for not looking underground with her Byakugan while jumping towards him in an attempt to help. Naruto wasn't in the best mental state when the attack happened. He was nervous and anxious. He just experienced the mental torture of being surrounded by thousands of bowls of ramen and not being able to eat any of it. He also knew he probably maybe most likely went a bit too far with his dog prank on Kakashi. As his mind was preoccupied with these thoughts, he wasn't able to react in time when Kakashi suddenly attacked. Hinata was about to reach him when Naruto's body was fully submerged underground, only his head sticking out. Unfortunately for her, she was mid-jump when Kakashi sprang up from the ground and swiftly grabbed her by forearms and swung their bodies to the right, spinning on his heel as he threw her like a sack of potatoes right at Sasuke, who was leaping into the fray from the opposite side. Hinata's body crashed into Sasuke's for the second time that day, sending them tumbling through the air. This time, she was more prepared and Sasuke found himself quite literally being kicked out of his stupor when Hinata's feet brutally impacted his gut, making his body bend as she kicked him away from herself. Not a second later, a fireball sent at her from Kakashi's direction engulfed her body, before its spinning rapidly increased more and more until it spun so fast the flames were extinguished, revealing Hinata. As Sasuke's body flew through the air, he made use of the momentum Hinata's kick granted him to shift into a good position before he threw a shuriken at Kakashi, who just finished casting fireball and was about to focus back on Naruto. This shuriken made him lean back and momentarily stop paying attention to Naruto, which interrupted his attack on the defenseless prankster. Nevertheless, Kakashi's left foot sprang forward while his body was leaning back, delivering a nasty kick to Naruto's chin with the intention of knocking him out and breaking his jaw. Much to Kakashi's surprise, as his kick connected, Naruto burst into smoke, revealing it was just a clone. Naruto was quite proficient at getting out of body restrictions. He kinda had to be since he lived with Anko. All he needed was Kakashi being distracted for a second so he could replace himself without alerting the Jonin. Fortunately for him, Sasuke's shuriken gave him such a distraction. Kakashi wasn't surprised for more than a split of a second before his hand sneaked into his pouch and 3 shurikens found themselves flying in 3 different directions. Hinata just finished her kitten, a bit disoriented because kitten was not made to be used mid-air. Her feet barely landed on the ground and she was intending to jump back into the fray when her eyes widened. She quickly threw her body back, evading the shuriken that aimed at her jugular by a half-inch. Unfortunately for her, behind her was a tree and her back impacted it with all of her weight, making her groan as she fell on her knees, which distracted her from her intention of attacking Kakashi. She wondered how experienced her Jonin-sensei must be to make such perfect use of the biggest weakness of Kaiten. Not many knew, but it took a split second for Hyuga to reorient himself after finishing Kaiten. During that split second, they might as well be blind to the world despite their Byakugan, since everything is just spinning in front of their eyes. That's why Hinata noticed the shuriken so late. The second shuriken headed straight at Sasuke, who was in the middle of weaving seals for the Great Fireball technique. Sasuke's eyes also widened when he realized he can either finish the technique and get hit by the shuriken or interrupt his technique and evade. The Uchiha briefly wondered if his attack was worth getting hit by the shuriken, but then decided there was no guarantee his fireball would actually hit Kakashi, so he promptly threw himself into the roll to the left, fully intending to start quickly attacking again in order to minimize the amount of time Kakashi had without being pressurized. As for the third shuriken, Naruto, who suddenly leaped out of the treetops a bit right above Kakashi, only barely managed to tilt his head downward, almost pressing his cheek to his shoulder. This allowed him to use said cheek as a shield. Instead of ripping through his neck, the shuriken whizzed through his cheek, leaving a bloody gash behind. Naruto didn't pay much attention to his injury because he didn't dodge. He was still mid-lep at Kakashi and he fully intended to continue his attack. Kakashi, as if momentarily stunned that Naruto didn't evade, also failed to dodge when Naruto's fist impacted his cheek. Naruto wasn't happy though. The Kakashi he hit was too hard. Before he could finish that thought, the Kakashi turned to stone, revealing it was just an Earth's clone. Naruto's breath briefly hitched as he remembered a small problem. Since he didn't burst into smoke upon hitting the Earth's clone, it practically revealed that he was the original. He was about to do a quick kawarimi when, secret ninja technique, 1,000 years of pain, Naruto felt something enter his ass from below, sending a weak current of Raiten chakra through his body, causing his eyes to bulge out before he was propelled forward, back into the treetops where he smacked his head on a thick branch with a loud crack just at the right angle, which made his body twirl around the branch and start crashing to the ground. Naruto was out cold before he impacted the ground, breaking several bones, and started twitching. Sasuke and Hinata finally reoriented themselves just in time to witness this historical moment, making them both stupefied while a chill went up to their spines as they subconsciously tightened their butt cheeks before giving Kakashi wary looks. In return, he only eye-smiled at them before bursting into smoke. Both Sasuke and Hinata cursed, raising their guard. Sasuke suddenly raised his forearm, blocking Kakashi, only thanks to being able to see him with his matured Sharingan. Unfortunately for him, a loud crack resounded through the surroundings, making him grit his teeth and soldier through the pain as Kakashi was already mid-kick towards his left side. Sasuke had no other choice than to lift his left leg, blocking Kakashi's kick with his shin. Another cracking sound reverberated through the clearing when Hinata finally reached her teammate. Kakashi refocused on the Hyuga heiress, finished with the Uchiha who helplessly flopped onto the ground, whimpering and trying to stifle his groans of pain. This lesson was, in Kakashi's opinion, very necessary for the kid. This would hammer down the fact that just because he can see the attack, doesn't mean he can react or safely block it. Hinata pushed down her fear as Kakashi turned towards her, and was about to attack when the alarm bell announced the end of this exercise. Hinata stopped in her tracks and blinked, her mind freaking out as she suddenly realized Kakashi's fist was just an inch from her face. Gulping, she bonelessly fell onto her bum, looking at the Jonin with wide eyes. She didn't see him move at all. Kakashi sighed and turned to Hinata basically. Unlike Sharingan, Byakugan doesn't give you a better perception. You can see a lot further than Uchiha can, and with a bigger detail, but that doesn't mean you can react or even notice someone moving too fast for your eyes. Or at least, that's what I was about to beat into you. He nonchalantly shrugged after verbally narrating her lesson. Lucky you. Hearing him, Hinata fainted, the mild chakra exhaustion finally catching up to her. It might not have seemed like it, but during these few hours, it was her who used most chakra, as she had to constantly keep Byakugan up while also using Kaiten multiple times. Seeing that the fight was done, Anko jumped down from the treetops from where she witnessed the entire thing. I see you took your teaching duties seriously. She sweetly smiled, making Kakashi take a step back. You can say that, he casually replied, thankful that his forehead hid the bead of sweat rolling down his forehead, but Kakashi Anko cracked her knuckles with a wide ominous smile spreading across her lips. What did we say about getting too serious against our cute little Genins? Kakashi's eyes flickered towards the three kids who were either on the verge of chakra exhaustion or had multiple broken bones. Shit. Needless to say, he attempted to run for his life. This must be some kind of a new record. Tsunade's cold stare landed on the fidgeting Anko, who was currently standing in front of her table and giving a report about the Genin test of Team 7. Let me get this straight. Not even a day has passed and your entire team is out of commission. You have not finished even one D-rank mission yet, but 4 out of 5 members of your team are already in the hospital. It's not my fault. Anko defended herself, crossing her arms under her chest with a pout while averting her eyes from Tsunade's steel-like gaze. Not your fault, Tsunade repeated with a hint of disbelief in the undertone of her voice. Let's see. Tanats took a file from her table, flipping it open, and started narrating Uchiha Sasuke, broken right hand and left leg, multiple cracked ribs, several torn muscles, concussion, it goes on. Tsunade glanced at Anko, who grimaced. Even with our medics tending to him, he will be out of commission for a week. It's not the worst he has had so far. Anko weakly tried, getting a snort from Hinata. Hyuga Tsunade continued, also cracked several ribs, mild burns on her arms, chakra exhaustion. Well, she got off lightly. Praiseworthy result considering Kakashi was going at them quite seriously. Still, she will be in hospital for 3 days at the very least. Anko's eyes slightly widened when she heard that. Tsunade just basically admitted she was watching the whole thing. Needless to say, Anko got even quieter. Knowing no amount of bullshit, no jutsu could save her now. Naruto Uzumaki, well, not important. Tsunade hummed. He is already healed and is only detained in the hospital for observation because he had burns on his internal organs from Kakashi's lightning ass poke. Anko's eyebrow twitched at that. She remembered that scene and couldn't help but try hard at stifling a chuckle. Her good mood quickly ceased when Tsunade warningly narrowed her eyes at her, and the best one, Kakashi. Tsunade gave Anko an accusatory look. Broken both knees, broken right arm in 5 different places, broken left arm at the forearm, shattered ribs, concussion, torn muscles at multiple places. You know what? Let's just say the man was basically dismantled alive. You wouldn't know something about that, would you, Anko-chan? Tsunade asked in a sweet, coaxing tone, and Anko shivered. I might have gone a bit too far in our spar. Anko slumped her shoulders, admitting her wrongdoings. Spar. Tsunade lifted an eyebrow at the wording. Anko, sparring matches do not end with your opponent having to spend 2 weeks in the hospital eating through a straw. I wouldn't know. I sparred only with you for the last few years. Anko petulantly mumbled, causing the corner of Tsunade's lips to twitch in amusement. Ha, what am I going to do with you? Tsunade rubbed the bridge of her nose while secretly smirking. This was exactly why Anko was never considered for the position of the next Hokage by Tsunade, despite being the second strongest ninja currently in the village. Just go and report for duty in a week when your Ginins are healed. Your team will be without Jonin until Kakashi gets better. Understood. Anko nodded, knowing this meant she would have to supervise the ranks. For the first time since it happened, Anko regretted roughing Kakashi up. This was basically punishment in itself. Dismissed, Tsunade said, returning to her paperwork while Anko left with a dejected sigh. Tsunade was signing papers when she suddenly offhandedly spoke. You can stop, Kurenai. Your genjutsu is fooling no one. Even Anko noticed you. The air above the couch suddenly shimmered, revealing Kurenai sitting there, frowning at being discovered so easily one day. I swear that one day I will catch you off guard, sensei, she muttered, causing Tsunade to shake her head in exasperation. Not likely. My senjutsu senses are impossible to fool with a genjutsu, Tsunade thought, keeping that bit to herself. So, how was your team? She asked. Kurenai proudly beamed. They are incredible. Yakumo is such a great talent in genjutsu. She will no doubt become the next Konoha's genjutsu mistress. During the test, she managed to catch me for a second in such an incredibly intricate. Tsunade half listened, half ignored the enthusiastic bragging veiled as a report while trying to find out what did she do to deserve this kind of torture. She was a taijutsu expert. She had no idea what half of the things Kurenai was talking about meant. Half an hour passed like this and Tsunade finished half of her daily quota of paperwork while Kurenai didn't stop talking even for a second. And then there is hearing the name Tsunade decided to pay a bit more attention in between her paperwork since the excruciating genjutsu describing part was mostly over. His bug techniques are good, but he will need more training in taijutsu. A sensei, Kurenai shyly started. Yeah, Tsunade boredly asked, already aware of what her student will ask next. Could you perhaps give me some advice on how to help Shino with taijutsu? I can give him basic exercises, but, well, you are the expert here, so I thought I would ask, if it's no problem. Kurenai averted her gaze, hoping her mentor would help her student. Tsunade found Kurenai's eagerness when it came to genjutsu bothersome, but this was the reason why she decided to groom Kurenai into the next Hokage. Despite all of her faults, the woman simply cared in a special kind of way. Tsunade sighed, giving Kurenai a fed-up glance before she threw a scroll at her. There are exercises for both Aburame and Inuzuka, so, how is the last member of your team? Chop chop. I don't have the whole day for your report. Kurenai, kiba. Kurenai's voice lost all enthusiasm. He is a pervert, she deadpanned, causing Tsunade to snicker. I honestly have no idea why you gave him to me when you know how I don't like these kinds of people, she complained. Exactly because of that. Tsunade admitted. This will be a learning experience for both you and Kiba. There is no better teacher than you as far as curbing his more Inuzukish nature goes, and there is no better student than Kiba as far as training your patience is concerned. You will be good for each other. Needless to say, Tsunade inwardly laughed at the conflicted and unwilling expression on Kurena's face. Alas, being a Hokage meant being a politician, and being a politician meant dealing with all kinds of unsavory people. This was just the start of preparing Kurenai for her future. Then again, Tsunade couldn't really explain that to the woman since she didn't even tell her she will be the next Hokage yet. I already want to strangle the mutt. Kurenai quietly mumbled. She was very eager to teach all three of her students. She heard about Kiba's nature before she even met him, and she was willing to give him a chance. She didn't mind his not-so-discreet looks. If that was the extent of how annoying he was, she would have been fine with that. The problem was his loud mouth and desire to be the alpha of the team. Kiba was too rash to be a leader. Unfortunately, Shino was too smart to argue with Kiba, knowing it is pointless, and Yakumo couldn't care less. As such, Kiba tried to command the team, breaking the superb teamwork between Yakumo and Shino apart rather than trying to insert himself into it in a meaningful way. Well, it's just the first day. I am sure you will get used to his antics. Tsunade smiled, remembering her own time as a Genetti. It took quite a lot of beatings until Jiraiya stopped being so obvious about his pervertedness near her. Dismissed. Kurenai grumbled something inaudible under her nose before leaving Tsunade's office. Sometimes I wonder why I even bothered taking in apprentices. Tsunade inwardly mused, deciding to quickly finish her paperwork.